Okay. Now, we're going to back up a couple chapters here in First Chronicles and read about some information that was not recorded in 2 Samuel at all. So we're going to go back to First Chronicles chapter 11, verse 10, and read down from here to 13, verse 8, where we just caught up. Actually, well, no, just 11 and 12 for now. So here's some information that is not recorded in 2 Samuel. Well, it is. We'll get to that in just a minute. Let's go ahead and read the rest of chapter 11 and 12 here. These were the chiefs of David's mighty men. They, together with all Israel, gave his kingship strong support to extend it over the whole land, as the Lord had promised. This is a list of David's mighty men. These were his crack troops, his squad team, as the best of his best. Joshua, a Hackmanite, was chief of the officers. He raised his spear against 300 men, whom he killed in one encounter. Next to him was Eleazar, son of Dodai, the Ahohite, one of the 3 mighty men. He was with David at Pas Dammim when the Philistines gathered there for battle. At a place where there was a field full of barley, the troops fled from the Philistines. But they took their stand in the middle of the field. They defended it and struck the Philistines down, and the Lord brought about a great victory. 3 of the 30 chiefs came down to David to the rock at the cave of Adullam, while a band of Philistines was encamped in the valley of Rephaim. I don't know if this is the same incident as we read about in chapter 13 or where this fits in. Who knows? I mean, I have no idea, and frankly, neither do you. It's impossible to say. At that time, David was in the stronghold, and the Philistine garrison was at Bethlehem. David longed for water and said, "Oh, that someone would get me a drink of water from the well near the gate of Bethlehem." So the 3 broke through the Philistine lines, drew water from the well near the gate of Bethlehem, and carried it back to David. But he refused to drink it. So I don't think he really meant that. When he said out loud how much he wanted to drink, I don't think he seriously thought anybody was going to go get him something to drink. He was just saying he wanted to drink. When they brought it to him, he didn't even drink it. He refused to drink it. Instead, he poured it out before the Lord. He poured it on the ground in front of him. I don't know if it was in front of an altar, in front of the Ark of the Covenant. He poured it on the ground somehow. "God forbid that I should do this," he said. "Should I drink the blood of these men who went to the risk of their lives?" Because they risked their lives to bring it back, David would not drink it. Such were the exploits of the 3 mighty men. Abishai, the brother of Joab, was chief of the 3. He raised his spear against 300 men, whom he killed, and so he became as famous as the 3. He was doubly honored above the 3, and became their commander, even though he was not included among them. So apparently there actually were 4 of them. Yeah, one guy who told the other 3 what to do, apparently. Benaiah, son of Jehoiada, was a valiant fighter from Kabzeel. This is going to be Solomon's guy here, actually, who performed great exploits. He struck down 2 of Moab's best men. He also went down into a pit on a snowy day and killed a lion. And he struck down an Egyptian who was 7.5 feet tall. Although the Egyptian had a spear like a weaver's rod in his hand, Benaiah went against him with a club. He snatched his spear from the Egyptian's hand and killed him with his own spear. Such were the exploits of Benaiah, son of Jehoiada. He too was as famous as the 3 mighty men. He was held in greater honor than any of the 30, but he was not included among the 3, and David put him in charge of his bodyguard. The mighty men were Asahel, the brother of Joab, Elhanan, son of Dodo from Bethlehem, Shamoth the Hararite, Helez the Pelonite, Ira, son of Ikesh from Tekoa, Abiazar from Anathoth, that's going to be Jeremiah's hometown later on, the prophet Jeremiah, Sibbecai the Hushathite, Ittai the Ahohite, Maharai the Netophathite, Heled son of Bana the Netophathite, Ittai son of Ribai from Gibeah in Benjamin, Benaiah the Pirathonite, Hirai from the ravines of Gash, Abiel the Arbathite, Asmaveth the Baharumite, Eliabah the Shalbanite, the sons of Hashem the Gizonite, Jonathan son of Shagi the Hararite, Ahiam son of Sekar the Hararite, Ethiel son of Eliphel son of Sorry, wherever you are out there, someday, long gone person. Hefer the Mecharathite, Ahijah the Pelonite, Hezro the Carmelite, Narai son of Izbai, Joel the brother of Nathan. That's an easy one. I have a brother named Nathan. I can see why Nathan, of these names, I can see why Nathan survives as a name we still use today, and the rest of them don't. Mibhar, son of Hagri, Zelek the Ammonite, Naharai the Berothite, the armor bearer of Joab, son of Zeruiah, he's the armor bearer there, Ira the Ithrite, Gareb the Ithrite, Urriah the Hittite, Zabad, he's going to be important in the story later on now, isn't he? Zabad, son of Alai, Adina, son of Shiza the Reubenite, who was chief of the Reubenites, and the 30 with him, Hanan, son of Makkah, Joshaphat the Mithnite, Uzziah the Ashtorethite, we're getting there, Shammai and Jeiel, the sons of Hotham the Ararite, Jediel, son of Shimri, his brother Joha the Tizite, Eliel the Mahavite, Jerubai and Joshaviah, the sons of Elnam, Ithma the Moabite, Eliel Obed, and Jashiel the Mezobahite. There's actually more than 30 guys there, okay? So we shouldn't necessarily take this. I mean, this is David reigned for 40 years. So these guys probably came and went as time went on. I mean, Asahel, we read about his death earlier, and Benaiah is going to actually make it in the time of Solomon. So he must have come along pretty late in David's time. He's going to be an actual official of Solomon. So, there's no way that Asahel, who died pretty early, and Benaiah, who was going to be Solomon's guy for years after David's death, there's no way they could have been there in the same roster of 30 men at the same time. Okay, so we have here a comprehensive list over the years of time of David's 30, and the roster would have changed as time went on. And I'm not sure if it was necessarily always fixed at 30, even when it was active. These are the men who came to David at Ziklag while he was banished in the presence of Saul, son of Kish. They were among the warriors who helped him in battle. They were armed with bows and were able to shoot arrows or to sling stones, right-handed or left-handed. They were kinsmen of Saul from the tribe of Benjamin. Remember how we read back in the day in Judges, the slingshotters of Benjamin could sling a stone at a hair and not miss? These Benjamites were pretty fierce. And some of them defected from Saul and went to David, even while Saul was still around. When David was in Ziklag, hiding out from Saul, some of them defected to David even then. Ahazar, their chief, and Joash, the sons of Shema, the Gileathite, Jeziel and Pelet, the sons of Asmathezeveth, Berekah, Jehu the Anathite, and Ishmaiah the Gibeonite, a mighty man among the 30, who was the leader of the 30. Jeremiah, Jahaziel, Johanan, Josabad the Gederathite, Eluzai, Jeremoth, Bealiah, Shemariah, and Shephatiah the Heraphite, Elkanah, Ishiah, Azarel, Jozar, and Jasherbim the Korahites, and Joab and Zebediah the sons of Jeroham from Gedor. Whew, that was rough. Some Gadites. Now, Gadites, if you remember, we're talking now about the region that was across from the Jordan River, the east side of the Jordan River, the part that was not actually officially part of the Promised Land. Some of the tribe of Reuben, Gad, and half of Manasseh settled there. Some Gadites defected to David at his stronghold in the desert. They were brave warriors, ready for battle, and able to handle the shield and spear. Their faces were the faces of lions, and they were as swift as gazelles in the mountains. Ezer was their chief, Obadiah the second in command, Eliab the third, Mishmanah the fourth, Jeremiah the fifth, Attai the sixth, Eliel the seventh, Johanan the eighth, Elzabad the ninth, Jeremiah the 10th, another Jeremiah, and Machbani the 11th. These Gadites were army commanders. The least was a match for 100, and the greatest the match for 1,000. It was they who crossed the Jordan in the first month when it was overflowing all its banks, and they put to flight everyone living in the valleys to the east and to the west. Other Benjamites and some men from Judah also came to David in his stronghold. David went out to meet them and said to them, "If you come to me in peace to help me, I am ready to have you unite with me. If you have come to betray me to my enemies, when my hands are free from violence, may the God of our fathers see it and judge you." Then the Spirit came upon Amasai, chief of the 30, and he said, "We are yours, O David. We are with you, O son of Jesse. Success to you, and success to those who help you, for your God will help you." So David received them and made them leaders of his raiding bands. Remember how we read back when David was living in Ziklag, how he would go on these raiding parties? These are the guys who went with him, who were his leaders. Some of the men of Manasseh defected to David when he went with the Philistines to fight against Saul. He and his men did not help the Philistines because, after consultation, their rulers sent him away. Now, we really didn't read about that in 1 Chronicles. 1 Chronicles doesn't go into detail about that. We did read about that in 1 Samuel. But the writer of Chronicles is adding this as a footnote. But we really didn't cover that story in Chronicles. He and his men did not help the Philistines because, after consultation, their rulers sent them away. They said, "It will cost us our heads if he defects to his master Saul." Excuse me. When David went to Ziklag, these are the men of Manasseh who defected to him: Adnah, Jozabad, Jediel, Michael, Jozabad, Elihu, and Zilithai, leaders of units of 1,000 in Manasseh. They helped David against raiding bands, for all of them were brave warriors, and they were commanders in his army. Day after day, men came to help David, and so he had a great army, like the army of God. A great and mighty army, according to our footnotes down here. I'm talking too much. These are the numbers of the men who armed for battle, who came to David at Hebron to turn Saul's kingdom over to him, as the Lord had said. So this is the contingent of people who crowned him king. Men of Judah carrying shield and spear, 6,800 armed for battle. Men of Simeon, warriors ready for battle, 7,100. Men of Levi, 4,600, including Jehoiada, leader of the family of Aaron, with 3,700 men. Those are the priests. And Zadok, a brave young warrior, with 22 officers from his family. We're going to hear that name again. I'm assuming it's the same Zadok. We'll keep that name Zadok in mind. We're going to be hearing him again. Men of Benjamin, Saul's kinsmen, 3,000, most of whom had remained loyal to Saul's house until then. Men of Ephraim, brave warriors, famous in their own clans, 20,800. Men of half the tribe of Manasseh, designated by name to come and make David king, 18,000. Men of Issachar, who understood the times and knew what Israel should do, 200 chiefs with all their relatives under their command. So the Issachar, they had insight. They knew what time it was. It was David's time. Men of Zebulun, experienced soldiers prepared for battle with every type of weapon to help David with undivided loyalty, 50,000. Men of Naphtali, 1,000 officers, together with 37,000 men carrying shields and spears. Men of Dan, ready for battle, 28,600. Men of Asher, experienced soldiers prepared for battle, 40,000. And from the east of the Jordan, men of Reuben, Gad, and the half tribe of Manasseh, armed with every type of weapon, 120,000. All of these were fighting men who volunteered to serve in the ranks. They came to Hebron fully determined to make David king over all Israel. All the rest of the Israelites were also of one mind, to make David king. The men spent 3 days there with David, eating and drinking, for their families had supplied provisions for them. David did not have the resources yet necessary to do that himself, so each man had to bring his own food. Also, their neighbors from as far away as Issachar, Zebulun, and Naphtali, those were the far northern tribes there, came bringing food on donkeys, camels, mules, and oxen. There were plentiful supplies of flour, fig cakes, raisin cakes, wine, oil, cattle, and sheep, for there was joy in Israel. At last the kingdom is united. They have not been this united since they came out of Egypt, since they crossed the Jordan River 400 years earlier. When they left Egypt, they wandered in the desert. Then 40 years after that, they got to finally enter the land. And when they crossed the Jordan, they conquered part of the land across on the east side of the Jordan, and some of them didn't even want to go in there with them. But they were talked into it, and they did go. And these people have not been as united ever since. They have not been this united again since they first crossed the river into the Jordan land way back in the days of Joshua. It took 400 years for them to get to this point where they are finally again a united people. It will only last about 60 years or so. It's not going to last very long. It'll last the rest of David's reign and through the reign of his sons. It'll last 60, 70-ish years. So it's not going to last. But for right now, they are united. Okay, I'm going to finish up a video here. Now, we do this video. 2 Samuel does have a list of David's mighty men in it, but it puts it at the end of the book rather than at the beginning of the account of David like 1 Chronicles does. So we're going to read the 2 Samuel account of David's mighty men. And we can find that in 2 Samuel 23, starting in verse 8. This is way near the end of 2 Samuel. These are the names of David's mighty men. Josheb-Basshebeth, a Tahkemonite, was chief of the three. He raised his spear against 800 men whom he killed in one encounter. Next to him was Eleazar, son of Dodai the Ahothite. As one of the three mighty men, he was with David when they taunted the Philistines gathered at Pas Damim for battle. Then the men of Israel retreated, but he stood his ground and struck down the Philistines till his hand grew tired and froze to his sword. So his muscles are so tightly clenched around the handle of his sword that he can't actually unclench his fist. Ever had that happen? When you're pushing up against, ever do that trick where you lean up against the wall and push your arm against the wall for about 30 seconds or so, and you take a step back and your arm just kind of flies up on its own? You know, it's like you put so much pressure that your muscles just kind of keep going, even after the resistance, the pressure you're pushing up against disappears. You step away from the wall. He had been holding onto his sword so tightly for so long that his finger is clenched around the sword. He couldn't unclench his hand. The Lord brought about a great victory that day. The troops returned to Eleazar, but only to strip the dead. Next to him was Shammah, son of Agi the Hararite. When the Philistines banded together at a place where there was a field full of lentils, it's a kind of food, Israel's troops fled from them. But Shammah took his stand in the middle of the field. He defended it and struck the Philistines down. And the Lord brought about a great victory. During harvest time, 3 of the 30 chief men came down to David at the cave of Adullam, while a band of Philistines was encamped in the valley of Rephaim. At that time, David was in the stronghold, and the Philistine garrison was at Bethlehem. David longed for water and said, "Oh, that someone would get me a drink of water from the well near the gate of Bethlehem." Remember, David was actually from Bethlehem. So part of his statement here may be wishing for a desire to know about the well being at Bethlehem. He may not be necessarily strictly communicating a desire to get a drink of water. So the three mighty men broke through the Philistine lines, drew water from the well near the gate of Bethlehem, and carried it back to David. But he refused to drink it. Instead, he poured it out before the Lord. "Far be it from me, O Lord, to do this," he said. "Far be it from me. Is it not the blood of men who went at the risk of their lives?" And David would not drink it. Such were the exploits of the three mighty men. Abishai, the brother of Joab, son of Zeruiah, was chief of the three. He raised his spear against 300 men, whom he killed, and so he became as famous as the three. Was he not held in greater honor than the three? He became their commander, even though he was not included among them. Benaiah, son of Jehoiada, was a valiant fighter from Kabzeel, who performed great exploits. He struck down 2 of Moab's best men. He also went down to a pit on a snowy day and killed a lion. And he struck down a huge Egyptian. Although the Egyptian had a spear in his hand, Benaiah went against him with a club. He snatched the spear from the Egyptian's hand and killed him with his own spear. Such were the exploits of Benaiah, son of Jehoiada. He too was as famous as the three mighty men. He was held in greater honor than any of the 30, but he was not included among the three. And David put him in charge of his bodyguard. Among the 30 were Asahel, the brother of Joab, Elhanan, son of Dodo from Bethlehem, Shammah the Harodite, Elikah the Harodite, Helez the Paltite, Ira, son of Ekesh from Tekoa, Abiezar from Anathoth, Mabunai the Hishuthite, Zaman the Ahohite, Mahari the Netophathite, Heled, son of Bana the Netophathite, Ithai, son of Ribai from Gibeah and Benjamin, Benaiah the Parathonite, Hedai from the ravines of Gash, Abi Alban the Arbathite, Asmaveth the Barumite, Elabah the Shalbanite, the sons of Jashan, Jonathan, son of Shammah the Hararite, Ahaim, son of Sharar the Hararite, Eliphalet, son of Ahashbah the Makathite, Eliam, son of Ahiphatel the Gilonite, Hezro the Carmelite, Parai the Arbite, Igai, son of Nathan from Zobah, the son of Hagri, Zelek the Ammonite, Naharai the Beerothite, the armor-bearer of Joab, son of Zeruiah, Ira the Ithrite, Gareb the Ithrite, and Urriah the Hittite. There were 37 in all. In that list, Uriah's name comes last. Now remember, 2 Samuel, we skipped to the end of the book. 2 Samuel normally includes the story of Urriah the Hittite in the middle of it. We skipped that for now and just went to the end and read that list. 1 Chronicles does not mention the story of Urriah at all. So the writer of 2 Samuel deliberately puts Uriah's name at the end of that list to emphasize that he was one of David's men. The crime that David committed was against one of his own top guys.